So I think maybe it's, I don't know what time it is. I must tell you that I'm not very good with technology, so I'm not running myself the show. Some of the friends and collaborators, they are running the show, and they will do some small introduction, I think.
Hello, Lama.
Hello.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, very well.
Very well, okay. So maybe we can start. It's time now. It's been 3 minutes since the starting time. And I will just do a small introduction for, if you don't know Lama Girme, which I think everyone does, but just a small introduction. Lama has been studying Dharma for more than 30 years, studying and practicing Dharma for more than 30 years. And correct me if I'm wrong, Lama. He's followed the Enigma school, and he's been designated as a Lama for his masters, for whom he has been studying, and they've passed on from a teacher to master since the Buddha, you can say. So it's lineage that comes from Buddha Shakyamuni himself. And Lama today is going to talk a little bit about hope, cultivating hope, and in a pandemic. Also, just to clarify, there are two types of practitioners, you can say, the monastic kind and the non-monastic kind, which is Nakpa tradition, and Lama belongs to the Nakpa tradition. So he has a family, a wife and kids, and he also lives for the Dharma. Okay.
I'm a good deceiver.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. So let's start our small activity and try to do something beneficial and useful for us. So sometimes it's not easy to talk when there are very seasoned Dharma practitioners and complete beginners. It's a kind of challenge, but it seems that mostly I have to talk to very seasoned practitioners and try to tell you something that is useful and beneficial. So I like to say, first I would like to say sorry if my English is not good enough. I'll try my best, but please, if you don't understand something that I'm saying, try to send me a message, then I will try to say it again in a different way. And as human beings, as you know, we like to prepare things, isn't it? So if we go to have a job interview, we like to prepare, and we have two kinds of preparation: outer preparation, the kind of clothes that you dress to go to the job interview, but some kind of inner preparation. You would like to have the right attitude, show some expertise in the field or something like this. But if you go to a romantic meeting, also you like to prepare. Also you prepare externally, and internally you prepare some kind of inner mood and attitude and some kind of tone of voice and things like this that you prepare when it's a completely different set if you are in a romantic dinner or in a job interview. So in Dharma, we also prepare. So sometimes we prepare also from the outer point of view, especially if we go to a live teaching. So now you can be at home in pajama if you want, maybe just having a nice shirt, but not exactly a nice skirt or pants. So, but inner preparation is still the same importance. So we should try to generate the right motivation or right attitude for listening and teaching about the Buddha Dharma or the teachings of the Buddha. And we know that the best attitude that we can cultivate is to generate what we call the altruistic mind or loving kindness mind that aspires to be able to develop, I can say, enlightened qualities for the benefit of all. So if you are acquainted with the kind of traditional preparations, you can recite very short prayers together. If you are not acquainted or familiar with that, don't worry. The best thing is to prepare your heart. Sometimes if you are very, how do you say, jaded practitioner, maybe you can recite things without heart, and this is not good at all. So it's better to have heart and not the proper recitation, and have the proper recitation without the heart. So for us beginners, recitation is a way to open our hearts. For real mature and seasoned practitioners, the prayers are the expression of the heart, but heart must be always there. If there is no heart, there is no path. So let's just create a kind of motivation that may I develop the qualities that in difficult times like this pandemic can bring me inner peace, joy, sense of meaning, and through that may I bring enormous benefit for those that are directly and indirectly connected with me, that finally indirectly you can say all beings are connected with us. So let's just generate this attitude, this motivation. And as I said before, if you are willing and you know, we can recite together some traditional prayer. Sanje Jodan Zogi Janama Changshu Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Jipe Sonan Kirama Penshir Sanje Ruba Jo Sanje Jodan Zogi Janama Changshu Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Jipe Sonan Kirama Penshir Sanje Ruba Jo Sanje Jodan Zogi Janama Changshu Pardo Dani Dagi Jinso Jipe Sonan Kirama Penshir Sanje Ruba Semje damje devadan, deva jodam de bajuchi do not devadan badam devajuchi. Yerin chandan nidan do etanyon zeme bala ne bajuchi. Semje damje devadan. Nadan. Duname be devadan badam devajuchi. Yerin chandan nidan do zeme bala ne bajuchi devadan. Deva jodan de bajuchi do nadan do na je jodan. Yerin chandan nidan do etanyon zeme bala. Ogmin shoki ki podane do son sanje kongi. Ransen choko no son tonse pa. Zavela ma shablaso. Poden zavela mari ponche da gishiwa. Peme de mancho. Kandin shenbo gone je son te konson. Tukin mondro tabu. So now we are ready for my job interview. So how to cultivate hope and even happiness in difficult times, particularly in these pandemic times. But what we will speak, maybe, if we can grasp the meaning of the Buddhist teaching, can be very useful in many different times and challenging times. So this series of talks, in fact, is very interesting because it started as an invitation from some Argentinian people and Spanish people. Then there is some, how to say, invitation and teasing friends who tease me to start in English. So, but I have an incredible bad habit of never preparing talks. So I ask the blessings of my own teachers. They are the source of all my understanding of the Dharma, that they can really use my body, speech, and mind for the benefit of everybody. So, but let's start with a common thread that is this subject, how to be happy and cultivate hope and a sense of meaningfulness in such difficult times. And let me just point out that even for some of us that are here, one of our teachers passed away yesterday. So it's a wonderful Lama, one of my teachers. And let's say that it's like a lamp that is extinguished for our world. So we don't become sad for him because he's a realized master, but we can become a bit, say, slightly, I can say, when we have compassion, sometimes there is this gentleness mixed with a certain tenderness that has a hint of a bit of sadness for the world, that such a wonderful teacher was passing away. So in such difficult times, we really need to keep our balance, and we need to keep the meaning and purpose of our lives updated, let's say. So in these situations, I heard many people saying, it was very interesting, a few people in conversations and even in Facebook saying, we were happy before without knowing it. So I was analyzing this because I'm always interested. I think as Buddhist people should have one quality, that is being deeply curious about life. If you don't have this basic sense of curiosity about life, you cannot be a very good Buddhist practitioner, because it's out of this curiosity for truth that you start looking to understand reality and connect with reality. So when I heard this, I needed to analyze a bit. Is this a kind of truth assertion, there is some truth in it? We were happy before COVID and before the pandemic, but we don't know it. Then I analyze and say, no, this is not true. Of course, I can understand what people are trying to say. We had such a good conditions to be happy, but we don't know it. It's not that we were happy, it's that we had some conditions. Because you cannot be happy without knowing it, isn't it? Either you are happy and you know it, or you're not happy and you know that you are not happy. There is not many people, they like to say, I'm happy in my own way. There is no your way or my way. Either you experience this bliss, either you are ecstatic or blissful, or you are not. So when analyzing, I realize, no, people were never happy. So it's not that you are unhappy because of the pandemic. You are unhappy because you are unhappy. Because you cultivated certain habits of unhappiness. And to analyze a bit this, because as I said, we should be very curious and being very, how do you say, like a researcher, a scientific researcher, looking to things without prejudice, without a preconceived idea. So when we look, many people before this pandemic, they were saying, I'm not happy because I have no time to be with my family. I'm not happy because I don't have time enough to see my movies and read my books, or I have not time for myself. Many people, they want to come to our retreat center because they don't have time to themselves. So now with COVID, many people got time, but that becomes the problem. So before, people are complaining, I have no time with my wife. Now I have too much time with my wife. I had no time for my kids. Now it's too much for me to be with these kids around all day long. Then you're still not reading your books, or maybe you read your book and still unsatisfied and unhappy. So if we can use our intelligence to go a bit deeper, we need to ask what was making me unhappy when I was working, and what make me unhappy when I'm not working. What make me unhappy when I had no time to be at home with my wife or kids.
From his nose, because
And then let's, okay, some sound problem. And then we need to analyze very well. And our basic problem, so let's analyze, as I said, let's not accept anything what I'm saying because people say I'm a Buddhist teacher. And let's not reject anything because it's uncomfortable. Let's, as a researcher, take some emotional distance and observe things, even if they are not very comfortable or easy to digest at the beginning. And if you really look, the biggest problem is that we are not living according to reality. We are living in our own, let's say in a very basic English, we are living in our own heads. We are not perceiving or apprehending reality. We are conceiving things, creating ideas about reality. So even in our relationships, so when I was thinking, I really like to appreciate and analyze relationships like family relationships and romantic relationships, because we are human beings. Huh? And I realized that sometimes more you think you know one person, in fact, we are each time more relating with your ideas about the person and less with the person. And many times this is the biggest problem and gap communication, is because we are not open to see who is this person beyond the conceptual frames that we are putting around or closing this person on our ideas about this person. So when we live more with our ideas about a person than with the person, there is very difficult to establish good communication, isn't it? And this is the cause of many problems in relations, because we are not anymore open to see each day who is this person. So maybe the best moment in a relationship, the most pure and open moment, is the first moment that you just look at each other. And in this first moment, and when you don't have any preconceived ideas, maybe the more pure moment of your relationship. Then most of the people, slowly, they start creating ideas about others. And when others do not correspond to that ideas, even we say sometimes, you cheated me. But in fact, it's not the person cheated you, is that you really cheated your own self, thinking that all the reality about this person is the frame that you created for this person. And we have also one complex, I don't know if this makes any sense in English. We think that we are the script writer of the life in the universe. Not only my life, but I think that I wrote the script of all the talks of everybody. And when somebody dares to do not correspond to my script, I get upset. So doesn't matter if it's my wife, my neighbor, my boss, I create some expectations that they will answer to situations exactly as I conceive it. So then we get very shocked and surprised when life is not running according to our, how to say, script complex or director complex. So one of the biggest issues is the fact that when we look to life, we are not even ready to understand the basic laws of nature, what Buddhists will call relative reality. Let's not even speak about nothing deeper. So let me show few things that we really don't perceive reality. For example, we have this tendency to think that things are permanent when they are completely changing moment by moment. So when we have this idea that things will endure and will last, this is just our fantasy, our projection. It's not reality. And we are fated to suffer the effects of this misapprehension of reality, just by being surprised by impermanence. And this is just a very small thing, but a very big thing at the same time. So for example, when you got a job, we got this idea that some kind of jobs that we are safe and secure with this job and that things will not change. When you got in a relationship, we get stuck with this idea that now this will be like this forever or something like this. Even if in our intelligent conversations we can do better, but in our superstitious mind, we believe that things are stuck and fixed. So we have these ideas about life, and when life is just running according to natural laws, we get very surprised. And sometimes, more than surprised, we get very upset and annoyed and angry. So the second thing is that often we look for happiness and think that happiness is something when in fact what we think that is happiness is not happiness at all. It's just the reduction of a momentary suffering before another momentary suffering starts. For example, if you are very, how to say, hungry, you want to eat, maybe you think that a piece of chocolate cake is the source of happiness. If that is so, one slice of chocolate cake is good, 2 slices is better, 10 slices is bliss, and 100 slices you are spaced out in happiness. But the truth is, if you dare to try 20 slices, maybe you are throwing up everything. So I have a good question is, if one slice is truly the source of happiness, how can that 100 slices are causing you to puke? The same thing if you are seated too much time and we say, let's do a 5-minute break. When you stand up, you say, oh, so good. But in fact, it's not that it's so good. It's just the reduction of the suffering of being seated before the suffering of standing up starts. So suddenly you will crave for sit again. So these cycles of unsatisfaction, this cycle of going from one suffering to another and a small reduction of the transition of sufferings is what unfortunately we call happiness. So, and the third thing is a bit deeper, is that we think that things have a reality that is out there and they come through different means and process through our senses and impose reality to our mind. But if you are courageous enough to analyze, and you have the courage to go further, you will find something very interesting that could be scary at the beginning, but also very promising in a deeper level, is that few people analyze how my mind is painting the reality according to my habits of thinking, my emotional reactions to things. So we think, for example, that a slice of chocolate cake has some inherently good taste, if you like chocolate. If you don't like chocolate, you think that there is inherently not so good taste. So if you ask what make me to enjoy a slice of chocolate cake and some people to get really, I would say, disgusted by this chocolate, is a good analysis, which means that both of these persons are not tasting the same. So where it comes the taste? If the taste is inherently belonging to the chocolate, everybody should have the same experience. And if you have the same taste, the same experience, you cannot like it or dislike it. Either everybody likes, either everybody don't like. But let's go even a bit further. Maybe you say, I really like chocolate. And where you are enjoying your chocolate, you receive a phone call with a very bad news. And suddenly, the next piece of chocolate, maybe half of your slice of cake, you just add half and saying, so delicious. Maybe you take some selfie eating cake to show your friends, oh, this is so delicious. But then in the middle, you receive this phone call. And when you, in an automatic reaction, you put the cake again, maybe there's no so much good taste anymore. So it's not that the chocolate cake had changed, but because your mindset changed, your perception of the same slice of cake will change. So this opens a door for us to analyze what are the source of my experiences. And let's cut, because we don't have so much time for deep analysis. We need to arrive to a very difficult point, but crucial point for our inner growing. That is to accept that there is nobody responsible for my own emotional experiences than me. I cannot, how to say, to use this word, blame government, family, relationships, or even this pandemic for what I'm feeling. So as sooner you can accept that your emotional field is your own responsibility, as much this could be scaring, as sooner you gain control over your life. So we are empowered to take responsibility of your own mind. And this is very important, but not easy to accept. I don't know so much all your backgrounds, but Portuguese people, for example, they don't like to accept responsibility. There is always good to have somebody to blame. I don't know about your own cultures, but it's very common procedure. So we don't like to listen that we are the only responsibles for our own experiences. But this is the purpose of all spiritual paths, even beyond Buddhism. What is the purpose of spiritual path if you cannot work without your own inner experience in the way that this affects your outer experience? So if we think that we are not responsible for our own perceptions and emotional experience, so there is no need for us to do any kind of meditation practice or any practice, because it will not change anything. It's beyond our scope. But if we understand that I'm the only responsible, then I can work with my own mind. I can manage it. I can learn how to approach it and skillfully to use certain skillful means to change my perception. So let's see that few of these consequences, the fact that we don't understand that things are impermanent, not the happiness that and we confuse happiness with momentary satisfaction. And on the top, things depend more on our mind than their so apparent intrinsic or inherent reality. This is a very important, let's say, stepstone and thresholder of changing our experience. But the basic idea is to understand I'm living on my conceptions. I'm not even living a real experience of the world. And let's see few consequences. This is the, let's call to this phase of our talk, the diagnosis, because we need to diagnose before starting to apply some medicine. If we are not ready to accept diagnosis, doesn't matter how tough this diagnosis can be, we cannot start a healing process, isn't it? So some people maybe think that it's very negative to have a kind of diagnosis or prognosis of the problem, but this is the starting point of the healing procedure. So it's not negative to analyze our situation and our suffering. If we just pretend being positive, not looking to the situations, in fact, this is not very positive because we are, how do you say, hiding from ourselves or closing to ourselves the door of healing. So sometimes diagnosis is not very easy, but it's very positive, even when sometimes we know that diagnosis is not so good. So in Buddhist tradition, we say, if something has a solution, why to get annoyed or over worried? If something have a solution, don't need to be worried. You just need to apply the solution. If something has no solution, why to be worried? There is no solution, and become worried or depressed will not solve the problem. That's true. If we have this, for example, this pandemic, and let's see, is there a solution to the pandemic? If we can say yes, and I think there are few solutions, so why to be so worried? Of course, we need to be careful and take some, how to say, protecting behaviors. But to be over worried is not part of the solution. But let's imagine there is no solution. If you get depressed, you start to having two problems instead of one. One is the situation itself, and on top of that, you will be depressed. So let me be very short. Even if we have to die, it's better to die happy than depressed. Sorry to say it so bluntly. So let's start analyzing few of the things. So let me tell you that crises are very good. Nowadays, maybe people don't understand this, but all our inner growing is often based in critical moments. Even many things that you appreciate in yourself and maybe you are proud, maybe they are forged in critical situations of your life that forged your good qualities. And sometimes certain, let's call it flaws that we are a bit embarrassed, they are crafted in the easy moments of our life and where we became like spoiled child, yeah? So let's not, how to say, misapprehend critical moments and crisis. So even the origin of this word crisis is very interesting. You can go to two different origins of the word crisis. One is like the idea that a crisis is a kind of chaotic moment and very unsettling. And another idea coming from Hebrew is called chrysol, which means where the golden smith, it's putting the gold with the fire, purify the gold, separating the dirty things from the pure gold. So this tool where they put the gold to put the fire is in Hebrew called chrysol. So let's say that crises are the chrysol of our life, the moments where the fire of our experience can separate the delusional negative aspects of our life from more golden qualities. So this situation is offering us, I understand, a critical moment with many challenge, with many difficulties for many people. Even I'm saying that after the pandemic of this, how they say, this disease or health pandemia, it will come, and it's already coming, the economic pandemia, and then mental health pandemia. That is the result of the two before. But still, it's up to us to give a good response to this situation. There is a possibility. I'm not saying, please, there is a kind of divine web or divine design that is giving us this as a gift for our inner growing. I'm not saying this. This is not part of Buddhist teachings, this idea there is an intelligence running everything and that everything has a kind of purpose. But we have the capacity of give a purpose and a meaning to every experience in our lives. And this is up to us. Not with our conscious mind, but we can start looking and working on it. And this is very meaningful. It's part of our intrinsic qualities and power of intelligence and wisdom that can look to situations and see it in very different ways. So let me tell you just one small story to start. Then we start to go a bit further than the diagnosis, but still a bit of diagnosis is important. So there were three men working. I like very much this story. It's an Indian story that I like very much. And then one person is looking to these three persons that they are working, and they come to the first and ask, "What are you doing?" And the man that is working looked to this person and said, "You cannot see what I'm doing. I'm working on stone. I'm cutting stone. What matters with you that you don't see what I'm doing?" Then you go to the second man and ask, "What are you doing?" And the second man says, "You know, I'm doing anything to put food on the table of my family." Okay. Then you go to the third man and say, "What are you doing?" And he becomes very joyous. He says, "I'm building a temple where people can find inner peace and to this contribute to a better society. I'm very happy with my job." But finally, all of the three were cutting stone. So one person has this mentality, I'm doing what I'm doing and I cannot see further. Another person says, I don't mind what I'm doing. It's not even seeing neither what he's doing, nor further. It's just saying, I will do anything, doesn't matter if meaningless or not, if this provides food and money. And the third is doing exactly the same, but he can foresee what he's doing and rejoicing. So let's say that we are, inside we have these three working men. You can either look to your life and say, you don't see, life is life, it's like this. This is the pandemic, this is the situation, this is the difficulties and the things like this, and I'm doing what I am doing. Or either you say, I'm just doing whatever is needed to survive. Or you can learn to see a bit deeper and rejoice in the possibilities of your own life. So finally, I will say it's your choice. So even, and I say again, choice is not there is a conscious choice because nobody chooses to suffer. But there is some habits, and our biggest enemy is our way of thinking and the habits that result from this way of thinking and so on. It's a kind of cycle. So these habits is something that we need to break out. And it's why diagnosis is very important to convince us that we need to change. And we must say that these difficult times are a real good possibility to start analyzing, re-evaluating our possibilities. And there is an urgency in this. Because I can say that if you analyze well, with our ordinary way of thinking things, we cause it, altogether we cause it, this unbalance in nature and the ecosystem that many scientists, they are already looking like prophets, warning us about pandemics for many years. But we don't care. We're still depleting natural resources, destroying the ecosystem, and behaving as our actions have no consequence. So we can see this as a kind of global warning. I'm not saying again that somebody is warning you, but you can read. As a human species, we need to reformulate our paradigm of life, or life paradigm. It's very important. So I will say that we have a good chance of, how to say, having a kind of leap in the way that we perceive life and decide to live. Let me tell you a few things again. So if, because we think things are permanent, we don't respect our own lives and we don't respect nature, and we behave as things will never change. And this has a consequence. There are a few things to understand about impermanence, you know. One is, very basic, is that when we try to achieve permanent happiness, that is our goal, yeah? We don't want just to be momentarily happy. We want to be happy. We want to everlasting happiness. But we are trying to achieve this everlasting happiness through a materialistic way, and all the material world, and not only material, even immaterial world like the thoughts and ideas, they are impermanent by nature. So let's analyze a very basic Buddhist teaching. I will say basic because it's like the fundamentals, but it's very advanced for us in the sense that we can understand and grasp it with our intellect, but we cannot really integrate it many times. That everything is impermanent. First of all, I would like to say that it is not a philosophy. It's a fact. Things are impermanent. It's not philosophy, it's not doctrine, it's not a belief. It's a fact. Even if you deny it, we'll still suffer impermanence and change. And we have impermanent bodies, impermanent minds in the sense of ideas, beliefs, emotions, living in an impermanent world. And this collection of impermanence is trying to achieve everlasting happiness depending on impermanent things. So the people that know me for a while know one of my favorite jokes is to say that we are deeply devoted to our main guru, Mick Jagger, and his Maha mantra, his big mantra, I can get no satisfaction, but I try. And I try, and I try, and I try. I can get no. No. So this is, I think the reason of so much successful is because it's our big superstitious mantra that we are trying to get satisfaction, permanent satisfaction, in something that is impermanent by nature. So we are fated to be disappointed. We should not be even surprised that we are disappointed. So let's say that part of the source of our unhappiness and disappointment is that we are not living according to reality. We are living according to fantasy, the fantasy of permanence. As I said before, the fantasy of permanent job, the fantasy of permanent family, and finally, the fantasy of permanent body, refusing to accept old age and dying. So it's not a surprise that if we live in such a hallucinatory, deluded way that sometimes we'll collide with reality and will suffer. So as sooner we start to learn how to dance with reality, life will become much more easier. And let me tell you also that this materialistic view of life is very much responsible of our so many fears and anxieties. Let's analyze few facts. Fact one, we are enjoying much more comfort and in our lives than never any generation before. Due to technology, we have more comfort than ever. Maybe you can perceive or not that even as common peasants, common citizens, as both all of us, we have much more comfort and easygoingness than kings 1 century before. 1 century before, no king could have water just by open the tap. No king could have, in 1 century before, central heating. No king could add before high phone, and no king can speak with his other, they say, kings or politicians through Zoom. So if you look 1 century before, there is no people that are, having the facilities of life that we have today. But are we more happy? That's the question. So in the history of all humanity, there was never so much easygoingness due to technology and many other things. But instead of more happy, there was also never in the history of humanity such a high levels of depression, anxiety, fear, aggression. So if the success in materialistic life is the cause of happiness, so we should be the most happy generation of all human beings that live on earth. So what's going on? In fact, we can say that this overvaluation of materialistic success is in fact the cause of so many fears of losing, so many anxieties. In fact, a great Buddhist master called Nagarjuna said there is 3 types of suffering in this attachment to things. The suffering of acquiring, yeah. So many times we just to get something, we already create suffering. I want, I need, yeah. Then I'm always saying, okay, no problem, because when you get happiness. But after the, how do you say, the superficial excitement of getting things, either 2 things happen. Either you get direct unsatisfaction, so you're not evaluate anymore what you get, or you get the fear of losing it. So we call it the suffering of keeping or maintaining. And finally, you have to lose it, isn't it? Either because this is impermanent and will get spoiled or break it, or either because you die, or many things. So this so-called comfortable life and attachment to it is in fact the source of so much suffering. So previous generations, many of them, they don't have the easygoingness of so much comfort, but many times they are more resilient, they have more contentment, and so sometimes they have, maybe from physical point of view, a more demanding and tough life, but emotionally more easygoing than us. So we are experiencing the opposite. It's a very easy life from the perspective of the physical demanding in our, for example, Western lifestyle, but in our mind, we are not experiencing that easygoingness. So let's create a new motto: simple life, higher mentality, instead of the opposite, that is a very low mentality and a very expensive life. So if you call yourself a spiritual interested person or a spiritual practitioner, you should develop one quality. We should develop a quality that is high mentality, low maintenance. That's also the source of so much happiness, when you have the wealth of contentment. The wealth of contentment is the highest form of wealth and richness, because it's the intelligence of being resourceful with the few things that you have. You know fully how to appreciate it. Then you are rich. If you don't know to appreciate what you have, and you don't have the intelligence and resourcefulness to use it in an intelligent way, doesn't matter how many things you have, you are always having the sense of lacking. So true misery is not having, is having and not know how to use it and how to be content with it. For example, if you don't have food at home, you don't have food at home. But much more sad, if you analyze deeply, is when you open your fridge at night, it's full of things, but you say, shit, I have nothing to eat. So this is really the deepest form of misery, is having your fridge full of food and say, I have nothing to eat. Or have your closet full of clothes and you say, I have nothing to wear this night in this party. Or you have maybe 200 shoes and you say, I have nothing to wear in this fancy dinner. So it's a very deep form of poverty, not having contentment. As the ex-president of Venezuela, not Venezuela, no, sorry, the ex-president of Uruguay said, some people are so poor, so poor, so poor that they just have money. So don't be such a poor person, because it's the cruelest form of being poor is having money but don't know how to use it in a meaningful way, or having food in the fridge and saying, I don't have nothing to eat. So let's look inside and see, if I get a much more easy and simple life, I have less fears, less expectations, and I will be much more balanced. If I have not always creating needs, as the 7th Dalai Lama, Kal Sangyatso, said, the problem is not the things that you have, is what you don't have and you wish. So if you know how to use the things that you have, you can, enjoy the things that you have. They are not the source of your craving and problem, but the constant desire. And sometimes we are very childish, in the sense that, for example, now everybody's speaking about 5G mobiles. Yeah. So some people against, and some people very excited. And now maybe you have a 4G mobile, and you don't use all the potentialities of your 4G mobile, or maybe you have lots of apps that you never open. Even today, my phone was telling me, you have all these files of apps and heavy files that you don't use for so much time. Do you want to, erase it? And I say, yes. And I make me lots of free space on my mobile. So I'm not using fully the potentialities of my phone. I don't use so many applications, which means I can use it a lot until I can fully explore the capacities of my phone. But if 5G comes to stores, many people get, oh, I need 5G, I need 5G. But you don't even use 4G properly, and you think that you need 5G. So you don't need 5G. So we are creating these ideas, need. and having just only this momentary excitation and suffering a lot of anxiety to get, anxiety to protect our goods, and then lots of suffering when you lose things. And so this is the first consequence of our misapprehension of reality. There is deeper even consequences that go beyond our personal lives. For example, from ecological point of view, all this greed is the source of so much suffering. Yeah. All this greed is not just creating psychological suffering and personal suffering. Because of this greed, we are depleting nature to produce new gadgets, new toys that we really don't need. And many times we never felt the need before they are announced. So, for example, before certain shopping mall open in your area, maybe you never feel the need of it. But then when they open, maybe you will fight with your partner. I want to go. No, I want to go to another place. So we'll fight for something and we'll spoil your relationship with something that you never feel that you miss. But then when somebody tell you there is this shopping mall or this 5G or whatever, you feel the craving. So of course the problem is not the mall. Of course the problem is not your mobile, but the craving mind. So then we are completely destroying nature because of this craving. And on the top, we are not destroying depleting things. We are destroying it to also the second way, to put all the trash of the old things that we don't want anymore. So let's take this chance, knowing that all these crises, from global warming to pandemic disease, they are coming from our unbalanced way of living. And then could be a good chance to understand something that is the principle of cause and effect. And this principle of cause and effect, let's just to see what time is it, to know how much time I can use. This is the problem of not preparing things. It's just going with the flow. But trying to get the direction. Don't go with the flow, just with the flow, because maybe you want to go to, I don't know, to Portugal and you will finish in Morocco. So sometimes going with the flow, we need to use the flow in an intelligent way. Just a side hint. Some new age people are always saying going with flow, but finally there is no direction in the flow. It's not very good. So, but this is not the subject of our talk. So if we really analyze this principle of cause and effect, we can understand that things don't exist just because, yes, like a determinist view. There is the causes and conditions. So everything in the universe comes into being through the interdependence of causes and conditions. And one of the most important causes and conditions is also our mind, but let's just understand this causality a bit. So if we understand this causality and many things that we are saying together here, we need to understand that our perception and way of perceiving things is deeply important to express the reality that appears. So because we are living in such an unbalanced way, we are suffering as individuals and we are suffering as an ecosystem. So we need to make our lives more meaningful in that way that we feel less need to consume. In fact, this need of consuming is because we are becoming like angry ghosts, that to feel this empty feeling, we think that we can just stuff it with gadgets and things. And finally, we are not getting happier, but we are depleting natural resources, depleting our own vital energy, destroying ourselves, destroying our environment, and creating so much unhappiness, unfairness, unbalance in many ways. So I think that we can make this pandemic very meaningful if we stop this, how to say, deluded way of living and start to questioning things. Why am I consuming like a cannibal or like a, how to say, an angry ghost, but never get my thirst quenched? As Atisha said, we are trying to quench our thirst drinking salty water. It's not working. Or trying to reduce our, how to say, itching, like scratching. Of course, when you scratch, there is a momentary relief, but then after it's worse. Yeah. So it's what we are doing with our consumist way that comes from this deluded perception of so-called reality. So there is this three consequence. There is psychological imbalance and ecological unbalanced, social unbalanced, and everything starts. We cannot blame society, yeah? Because society is compounded by individuals. If I say society is sick, means all the individuals that are part of the society, maybe they are sick altogether. So we need to start to heal ourselves. And something that we need to understand is in this causality is that we are, as I said before, responsible. But let's analyze this word responsibility and separate response, ability, maybe a new idea. So am I responsible for the way that I experience things? Yes, because it's my way of responding to things. So the first thing to start to having a better response or better ability to respond, if you prefer, is to accept cause and effect. And accept one very simple thing, that there is nothing that you can do to change the present moment. I'm really sorry that I cannot have a kind of big screen that I can see everybody at the same time, because I would like to know if you really agree that you can't do nothing to change the present moment. I'm now scrolling to see your faces. Do you really think that you can do something to change the present moment? Any idea? I think nobody can change the present moment, yes? What is already ripened is already ripened. But I'm not being a fatalist or a kind of determinist. It's when you fully accept that you can change the next moment. So when you don't accept and embrace what already is here, you get annoyed and respond with your habitual tendencies, that you are also losing the chance to change the next moment. I hope that you are getting what I'm trying to say. Sorry for my broken English. So when you get annoyed, angry, depressed, fearful, this will not change anything. For example, with COVID, being angry, afraid, how to say, anxious, depressed, will not change the rate of contamination or the rate of deaths. And maybe if you are under this rage or under this depression, maybe in fact you will do crazy things. Maybe I cannot stay at home without seeing my friends. Many things that can be your kind of emotional conditioning answer to situations. Then maybe we can create even a worse scenario. But when you can train yourself to very calmly to say, there is nothing that I can do to change this moment, and you can remain calm and open, you can take more intelligent decisions to change the next moment. So this is not very mystical or very exoteric. It's just you can use your good sense. I will not say common sense, because nowadays I feel that common sense is going for very bad alleys and ways, but is a just good sense. So if you want to change something, you need to accept that now you cannot change it, but you can evaluate it, learn with it, and make better choice for the next moment. Yeah. Of course, it's more easy to say than to do it. That's why you need to train in many techniques to learn how to deal with your emotionality and with your habits and tendencies. But at least if you start to understand, I am responsible for whatever happens to me. In this sense, I need to give a better response. So the first thing is, okay, what can I do with a calm mind? I think we can commonly agree that when we are stressed, anxious, nervous, afraid, our intelligence is not in its higher level of functioning, isn't it? So we cannot make intelligent choices when we are, how to say, under the swing or the roller coaster of our emotions. So when we start thinking, I'm the only person responsible to the way that I perceive things and feel things, then we can start changing. And this is very important. Then you can decide, am I cutting stone? Am I doing any meaningless task to have money on my table? Or am I building a temple? So we are all living the same circumstance, but we are perceiving it with different aspects. So we are all having maybe economical difficulties, maybe many challenges, but you can make it meaningful. So as Philippa, that was the person that introduced me, say, I'm a married Lama, so I have family and kids, wife and kids. And some people may say, oh, it's very easy because you are a Lama. You don't have the responsibilities that I have. That's true. Besides having family, I have centers to pay bills and 100 people asking advice and support. So I don't have the same problems. Maybe I have a bit more challenging situations. I don't say problems because I say problems don't exist. They just exist situations. If you know how to give answer to these situations, they are not problems. If you don't know how to answer to response, then you have problem. But situations in itself are not problems. Depends always on if you are cutting stone, doing anything, or building a temple. So I'm trying to choose to build a temple. So, and this means I'm willing to work with my mind and perceptions and emotions in a way that allowed me to see things in a slightly different way. So if I can do it, you can do it. I have no special quality, just the kindness of my teachers that taught me patiently, and I had just the willing to apply the teachings. So, and another thing is, if you understand that this ordinary mentality is really making life unbalanced for your own self, for your own family, for ecology, economy, creating so much unfair in society, then you can unlock a very secret treasure. And when I say secret, it's not that it's hidden, but we are so distracted that we don't see the obvious, as we don't see impermanence, although it's everywhere. It seems that is a kind of hidden truth for many of us, in the sense that we need to be taught that things are impermanent. It's very strange, isn't it? That we need to be taught that the obvious is there. So the same thing is to cut through many things. What are really the source of happiness and the source of unhappiness? What are the main cause of happiness? Until now, we saw the main causes of our unbalanced. But now we need, what are the cause of happiness? So it's something that we have in our true nature, but let me say that we don't are so much in contact with our true nature. And maybe this word is nowadays overused, but I will say that true loving kindness is the source of happiness. In truly loving, there are many levels of understanding what is this love and altruistic mind. But as one great master of the past called Shantideva said, all the suffering in the world comes from the thought of self-concern, and all the happiness come about concern of happiness of others. So let's analyze a bit if this is true or not just because a famous master say we don't need to accept, but let's try to compare with our experience in life when we really are open to others. And I will explain in short what it means to be really open. When you really care about others more than yourself, either in your family, in your relations, it's very easy, everything gets very easy. When the opposite happens, everything becomes very stiff and difficult. So when you, for example, you look to a newborn baby and you don't have any fear and expectation, but you just want him to be okay. You have a kind of gentleness in your heart. You don't only feel well in your mind, but even your body loses tension, isn't it? When you really feel in love, it's not just a good feeling for your mind, it's also a very good feeling for your body. So we can say that the first benefit, ordinary benefit, not even spiritual benefit of loving kindness, is make you feel great in your mind and contributes to the health of your body. I know some few people here are related with the, how to say, medical or therapeutic areas. You can confirm if feeling this, how to say, kindness, relaxation, this basic goodness is also a kind of very important healing factor for our body. So I'm not even speaking about being spiritual, just about being a good, decent human being. Because when you say human in a common man language, if you say this person is so human, basically means is so kind. So each time that we get away from basic goodness and kindness, we are getting away of our humanity. So nobody is a good human being because the PhD degree or the money that makes every year. What makes you a good human being is how much in touch are we with this loving kindness. So even not speaking about spiritual progress, just let's speak even a bit from a very ordinary way. If you want to feel okay, you need to fall in love. But I'm not saying from a romantic point of view. You need to fall in love with life. Through kindness, through compassion. Then this will make you to feel okay psychologically. It makes you feel great in your own body. Even if you have 130 kilo, you'll feel very light. Sometimes you have 50 kilo and you feel very heavy. And even your body moves in a very heavy way sometimes with 50 kilo. Huh? And if you want to have good sleep, if you have kindness in your mind, it's very easy to have good resting sleep. If you have very negative emotions in your mind, maybe you cannot sleep properly. So the better sleeping pill is to make yourself very easygoing, flexible, warm kind of human being, and you can sleep. Also, it's very good lifting. So don't spend so much money in plastic surgery or in makeups, because outer makeup comes out very easily. But inner makeup, if you really get kindness in your heart, your face gets much more soft. Your way of smiling is very nice. And I can guarantee you that even your romantic life will improve if you are kind. So in fact, you will not get better relationships because you have a six-pack, but you can have better relationships if you have kindness in your heart. So if you keep analyzing, there is so many benefits in your relationships, in your job, even socially. You get much more easygoing. When you make people feel okay around you, they will answer in general in the same way. In general, there is some exceptions, and you need to learn how to deal with these exceptions and know why they are exceptions. And on the top of this basic goodness and kindness is also the fuel of spiritual progress. So let me tell you something that a great master of Tibet called Saraha said. This is more for Buddhist people. He said, if you get so deeply involved with emptiness and absolute meaning, losing your kindness and compassion, you have been deceived by the demons. So there are many people nowadays very attracted by this so-called emptiness. It's a new concept. Non-conceptuality is the new concept of many people. So some people get highly conceptual about non-conceptuality. And the most basic way to show our non-conceptuality is to feel equanimity, to feel empathy. Because if there is any essence in emptiness, is loving kindness and compassion. Is the essence of emptiness. So you cannot pretend to have dissolved your sense of self while still very stiff and rigid with arrogance, pride, stinginess. This is the proof of our lack of true experiential understanding of what Dharma means by emptiness. So if you are just becoming a dry intellectual, very rigid, very stiff, very cold, this is clearly the proof that you don't understand a hint about emptiness from experiential point of view. Instead of dissolving your ego, you are becoming arrogant, pretending to be very high practitioner and something like this. So loving kindness is starting from a biological need to a spiritual need is all you need. Finally, John Lennon was right, or the Beatles, all you need is love. And so the thing is, can you understand that love also is not coming from outside? So maybe the people that you fall in love are the condition to momentarily unlock the potential of love. But love is not coming from the people and from the relations. It's a natural condition, and everybody loves something. Even a sociopath maybe have a pet that he is really caring about, because everybody has this soft spot. And we must agree that some people have explored more this soft spot than others. But if something exists in our nature, even at embryonic level, I think you can say this, like an embryo, then can be developed. So every living being as some kindness and some intelligence. That is, in a very simple language, Buddha nature is wisdom and kindness. So we can say that everybody that has, even as a seed level, some spot of kindness, some basic capacity of understanding, can expand it to its fully potential. But the first thing to try to understand is, this is my nature. I don't need to become loving kindness. I need to unveil loving kindness. So I have a question. Can you, if you know how to, get in love with a stone? I love this rock. Yes, you can. Yeah. Or with a sightseeing. Oh, I love it. People always say it. Sometimes it's true. Huh? You can look to certain lake landscape and really feel your heart to open. True? Yes, true. So this means you have this potential. If you are really willing to open, you can express your love not just with people. You can express your love with trees. You can express your love with, as I said, rocks, with landscapes. So what is preventing us from falling in love with life and get all the benefits of a loving, kind perception of life? Because if you have this perception of life, nothing can hurt you. I can guarantee you that. If we really, even if somebody tried to offend us, saying very naughty and nasty things, if you listen to this through the loving, kind mind, this person cannot anymore hurt you, because there is no power in the words to hurt you. There is no power in anything to hurt you, just in the selfish mind that is over concerned with me, my image, my conceptions, my perception, my interpretation. In the moment that somebody tried to offend you with words, if you feel love and compassion and say, oh, maybe this person, poor thing, as you say in English, poor thing, maybe as having a very bad day. This is not personal, it's emotions that are trampling him. How can this person hurt you anymore? So all the conflicts and sufferings from domestic life to nationwide problems, they come from the lack of this loving, kind mind. Even this COVID problem is coming from the lack of compassion from each other and kindness to each other. Either in its origin, in its spreading, maintaining, and lack of solutions. So we are having a pandemic that is very dangerous, is the lack of humanity, lack of compassion and kindness. So if we understand that loving kindness is a solution in itself for all personal problems and global problems, we need to cultivate it. As Mahatma Gandhi said, you should be the change that you think the world needs. So it's very unfair to demand to others to change when we cannot do it ourselves. And if we know what is needed, we are entitled to do it and not just demand from others to do it, isn't it? So we need to get in touch with this loving mind. And for this, we need some tools to unlock this kindness and learn to express it. And I think that we need love urgently for the sake of the survivals of all the human species. Not only because of COVID, but for all the political, economical challenge that we face due to our greediness. So even now, sometimes every day, I must confess, I see how the things in the US are developing in terms not only of health, but also politically. And for me, it's a bit scary in the way, not scary in ordinary way, but to see where the emotions and way of thinking of people are guiding them. So in fact, love is the solution even for crisis. Let me show you something very practical. Can you think in somebody that you really think is my enemy? I know that many of you are too polite to have enemies, but somebody that you don't like it. Somebody, if you meet, you say, oh, fuck. Somebody that you think that don't like you and you don't feel so much comfortable nearby. Let's call this bluntly enemy. So think about this person for a while. Just imagine. And some of this, maybe some of you, just imagining this person make you to shake a bit, or even sometimes just listen the name of this person, maybe a bit nervous. Yeah. So, but be a bit courageous and think about this person. Imagine that is in front of you, and try to even to remind the behaviors that make you to feel so uncomfortable. Maybe his body behavior, maybe the way he speaks, the way it acts. And then try to see what you really don't like in this person. I can say very easily that is emotions and habits. So imagine this person without greediness, without aggression, without attachment to his ideas and perceptions, without the habit of acting in a certain way. Can you still finding your enemy? So the really enemy is what we can call the negative emotions and bad habits of this person, isn't it? Not the person itself, not his potential of intelligence and kindness that I guarantee you that this person have, because your worst enemy is the best friend of somebody. And your best friend is maybe the worst enemy of somebody. So our emotions sometimes clouded our perceptions about people. You know? So if you think deeply, you will see that the basic human qualities of this person is not your enemy, but is dysfunctional habits and negative emotions, at least what you perceive as dysfunctional habits and negative emotions. So this is what you have to fight. But if you analyze deeply, the real enemy of your own happiness is these same emotions inside of you. So if your enemy has anger, maybe you have anger too. If he has attachment to his ideas, maybe you have attachment to your own ideas. If this person has some level of greediness, maybe you have some level of greediness. So the cause of your unhappiness is these negative emotions and habits. And the cause of your unhappiness in the behavior of your enemy is the same emotions. So do you want to destroy your true enemy? Destroy negative emotions. Then if you can make your enemy happy, that is the most basic idea of kindness, is wanting others to be happy. I'm 100% sure if your enemy is truly happy, not just neurotically satisfied, but really happy, he cannot be enemy of anybody. Can I share with you a very rough, how to say, very vernacular word that we use a lot in Portugal, Spain, and I think maybe in English too? Sorry, but this is like common language, yeah? Sometimes when people are very naughty and nasty to others, we say in Portuguese, badly fuck. So if you are properly fucked, you have no disposition to be nasty to anybody, isn't it? So I'm joking a bit. Let's pray that our enemies get very good laid. Then end of enemy. I'm a bit joking, but if you want to go deeper, if you really want and aspire deeply from all your heart that your enemy becomes a truly happy person, you are really wanting to destroy your true enemy. when your enemy is badly treated, in fact, is increasing its negative aspects. I have a friend that is very involved in politics in US, and I'm always, and he don't like Trump. And I'm always saying, I think Trump is ready for all your bad treatments, but not really ready to be respected, but properly respected, not like some people pretend to respect him. So if you treat him with dignity, maybe you don't know how to cope with that. So maybe you need to change your strategy, because I don't know him. Personally, I don't know him, but I know one thing: he's ready to be criticized and ridicularized. And this is not making him to give the best answer. So sometimes, even if you don't agree with somebody, the best weapon that you can use is respect and kindness, with the firmness of showing that there is better ways to follow. But sometimes just criticizing, saying bad things, don't make people open to change and dialogue. This will make just hold to our views, even ourselves, yeah? If somebody just starting pointing your faults in a very rude way, are you generally willing to analyze and say, yeah, this person, although is speaking very rudely with me, it's right and I need to change? Or when somebody, even if this person is right, just point in a very bluntly way your faults and speak very harshly with you, our tendency is to protect ourselves, to close, and we cannot dialogue anymore. So if you analyze very much, all we need for ourselves and for our world is love. Having a more loving kindness perspective of health, more loving kindness perspective of economy, a more loving kindness perspective of different fields of society in general. The question is, have you the guts and the courage to work in yourself to change your habits of perception, to be more open to reality and have a better, a more functional way of working with the reality and with cause and effect? So to finish, and of course, I would like to have some time for those of you who want to have any question or something. I would like to propose a simple exercise to get in touch with our love and kindness. A very short one. In fact, with the Spanish group, we are having classes after that with meditation techniques. But today I want you to taste a bit of it. And if you are willing, let's do some practical exercise. Very simple exercise. Today, for some reason, I want to give you a different exercise than the first one that I give to the Spanish group. And but they because they have some classes, they are having the same tools, but I want to explore something different with you for some reason. And I don't pretend to be intelligent reason, it's just some kind of inner feeling. So the first thing is to sit properly. So let's try to sit. Even if you are in a chair, you can still sit properly with your back naturally straight. Don't need to be stiff, because stiffness is not a good aid for meditation techniques. So let me tell you that there is two kinds of stability. One is artificial stability that comes from, I cannot move and I need to hold to meditation. This makes you very stiff in your mind and your body. And there is stillness coming from deep relaxation. That is what we want. Stillness that comes from truly relaxing and feel at ease. Then you don't need to move. So you need to learn how to relax. So first, sit with your back straight. You can put your hands either in your knees or in your lap. Open your chest, shoulders. Just let your head have a kind of natural angle that when you pull your shin a bit in, expands a bit your cervical area in the neck. Touch the tongue on the palate and relax the jaw. You can just let your eyes to rest in the floor, more or less 2 meters away of you, more or less. Don't get too worried. And then let your mind scan your body from the top of your head, going to forehead, to your nose, cheeks, eyes. And while you go scanning, if you feel some tension or tightness, try to relax with the exhalation. Exhale and relax consciously, and continue to scan and proceed, like sweeping your body from any tension with your mind and exhalation. And again, the jaws, the mouth, neck, shoulders, chest. You go until your feet, just relaxing. Then you come up again, seeing that you are properly seated, hands on the knees or on the lap, relaxed, back relaxed, shoulders open and relaxed, neck relaxed, your face and skull relaxed. And let your awareness just rest on your body. Just feel your body. Instead of thinking about your body, just feel your body. Feel the sensations of your body. Instead of thinking about the sensations of your body. Don't tell stories about your sensations. Just feel it in a raw way. And rest in that. Abide in the motivation of benefiting all, and then just bring to your mind one of three things. A newborn baby, most newborn baby that you can imagine, or a newborn puppy, or a memory of a landscape or a moment in your life that really brings warmness to your heart. So with one of these image, just bring this image. I will choose newborn baby, okay? Do you stick with your own preference? And when we imagine this born baby, try to feel this kindness, this warm feeling in your heart. There is no expectations that a newborn baby approve you. There is no fear of being rejected. There is just this very basic, kind, warm feeling. So use the image of this newborn baby to awaken this natural, warm kindness in your heart. This pet or this landscape or event of your life. Try to enjoy this warm feeling. Rest in this warm feeling. try to feel the tenderness, warmness of looking to this newborn baby. And rest in it. So let's finish our practice for today with few advices if you want to understand a bit more this practice and pursue it. I will let you know there are 5 stages on this practice. This is the first stage. And in Tibet, the way of learning this practice is you receive the first stage, you go into retreat for 2 weeks, which means practicing 8 hours a day for 2 weeks at least. And then after the retreat, you come to report your experience. Then you receive the second step. Why I'm telling you this? Because this method is experiential. It's not about getting ideas about meditation. It's what you get from your experience that is the guidelines for the next step. But the main reason I am telling you this is if a practitioner could need 2 weeks to get a true experience, a true flavor. So don't get surprised at it if you don't get it after 5 minutes. So don't be so impatient. And probably you will not meditate for 2 weeks, 8 hours a day. So don't be too tough with you. Let's try to contact with this basic kindness in a very gentle way. Maybe it will take you a month or maybe 2, doesn't matter. But maybe not. Maybe you can really, when you think about this baby or this pet or this puppy, or some memory of your grandmother, they say, giving some kind of gesture of kindness, you can just contact with this. So the second level, I can tell you before, because we don't have the time of Tibetans. They have very easy life until 20 years old. They never take so much responsibility. So it's a completely different mindset, in fact. And in fact, just to let you know, one Tibetan doctor said that when I see you Westerners, I'm saying that you are not doing bad at all compared with your lifestyle. It should be worse because your way of living is considered by me as a torture. We are coping quite well with our frenetic way of life and so agitated. So it's sometimes not so easy, our habits. And but the second level is very easy. If you can contact with this basic kindness, you are using this image or this memory to contact with your source of kindness. Then second level is to evoke this feeling without needing the image. And being able, instead of like many people is practicing resting on breath, here the main practice will be in the first levels to rest on this feeling of kindness and then learn how to expand it and completely get, how to say, absorbed in this experience on kindness filling our mind and our bodies. And this is just the starting point for further developments. But it's very important that you can learn that this source of this kindness, this warmness, this tenderness is already in you. Then you can learn how to unlock it. And starting to be the way that your mind and your body functions and answer to and response with ability. Then you can take the responsibility of influenciating others in a positive way instead of being so much influentiated by circumstances. What we call a Dharma practitioner is somebody that learns how to affect circumstances instead of being so much affected by the circumstances. It's the path to freedom. The step to freedom is to understand that I am the only person responsible by the way that I'm feeling and experiencing things. Then if you really understand this, you understand my inner freedom is my responsibility. I can do something and become fully beneficial to me and to others. If I think my happiness depends of outer sources, we can never control all the external factors. So to shut up my mouth, I need to tell you one last story. There is one man that was barefoot, and he felt that the stones and thorns are hurting his feet. So he got the idea of cover all the world with leather to do not hurt his feet. Do you think this is affordable? It's possible to cover all the planet Earth with leather? No. But then another man told him, if you do just shoes with an incredible smaller amount of leather, this is feasible and will have the same result than trying to, cover all the planet Earth with leather. Then the teacher that was explaining this said, if you think that you need to change everybody else to be happy, it's like the person that thinks that need to cover all the earth with leather to do not hurt the feet. But the moment that you understand that through changing your own mind, your own perception, you can be happy, it's like the person that is able to do shoes. So one decision that each of us should take is, I'm a person that is investing time and energy in this project of covering all the earth with leather. That is just a very high expectation and feasible and faded to failure. Or I am the person that can learn how to do shoes. So, but the decision is yours. I just can be responsible for my decision, and I can share part of the knowledge. But as the Buddha said, he said, almost at the end of his life, he said, I give you the methods, but you should know that liberation depends upon you. So be your own savior. And as the Buddha said, be your own teacher, be your own best friend and your best protector. So there is a very deep meaning on these words of being our own best friend. So somebody that don't knows how to say, maintain himself, keep himself in good mood, in good state of mind, cannot be his best friend. Somebody that don't know how to protect himself from the causes and conditions of suffering cannot be the best protector. And somebody that is not willing to correct himself cannot be his own best teacher. So without these three qualities, spiritual practice is very difficult. So I will join my hands and say, please be your own best friend, be your own best protector, and your own best teacher. So as I said at the beginning, don't accept anything what I said. Just analyze it, But don't reject anything that I said because it was uncomfortable. Analyze it like a scientist. And then if you think that what I said has any meaning, don't think I'm a follower of this man. No, I'm a follower of my own intelligence. The Buddha just give you the tools for you use your own intelligence. So you don't need to feel that you are following anybody. So following some people, ideas and philosophies is not Buddhism. But using the tools that the Buddha gave us to unlock our own wisdom and compassion, that's Buddhism. But don't give up of your own intelligence and ability to critically analyze the teachings. So you need to have this courage, this capacity. Then I'm very sorry if my English is not good enough to try to communicate the teachings. And if anybody have the time and willing to make any question, please feel free to say something, to disagree, to debate, or to ask something. To joke with some old friend, I will say that this is all that I read in the internet. Sorry, my memory is not anymore the same, and I cannot memorize things anymore. So my memory is very weak. So I was checking in internet. What should I say in this talk? That's all that I read in the internet today. This is a bit of private joke, sorry. Yes?
I just wanted to say thank you very much, Lamala, for those words, and I think it's great to disagree sometimes. It's a fertile thing, but I think it's good to disagree in quietness before moving on. But no, I just wanted to say thank you, and my question is different. My question is, would it be possible to have these sessions like together as we're having today every now and then, like every month or every 2 months? It doesn't have to be a regular thing, just to a little catch up. I think it's very beneficial to be challenged and to hear the important, simple, important things that are very deep, just as a reminder of where we're going. I think that would be very, very nice. I'm not sure if I'm speaking on behalf of anyone else, but at least for myself, that's my question, would it be possible to have it sometimes? It doesn't have to be very often, but yeah, just general. But thank you very much for today.
Will answer as a Nepali. If you ask something to a Nepali, they will say, in Nepal, everything is possible. So everything is possible. And I think everybody here know me more or less. And from Dharma perspective, Lama should be always, how do you say, available to the willing of people. So we don't, we are not like trying to preach, but in the moment that people are willing, so we'll say in Portuguese, I don't know if this in English makes any sense, the ball is always on the student's end. So if you want to start the game, I will answer in the proportion. So if people is willing to have meetings, I'm willing to participate on these meetings and share the Dharma knowledge, to discuss things, to practice together. I think is a wonderful suggestion, but depends on the people. I'm ready to, how to say, to assume my responsibility of this situation. So people can think about it and then can communicate with us through email or messenger or whatever, and we can organize some meetings sometimes. Like the Spanish group, we just met a second time to share some meditation techniques and to give a kind of homework for people, because all of this, it will be wonderful if one talk could just change our lives. I will be the happiest person in the world if just one talk can change our way of thinking and behaving and perceiving. Then it will be very nice and very easy. But unfortunately, that's not enough. We need to analyze, to develop some wisdom, and then to work out in our own minds with our own practices. And my how to say, commitment is even to have an approach that anybody from any faith or lack of faith can how to say, analyze, and if makes sense, can make it a useful tool. So everybody is welcome. Then I really think that if we can handle and cope with some basic teachings and tenets, we can make our life very easy in any circumstance. Any circumstance. And I don't want to seem cold, because I'm criticizing myself, some friends that have a very cold approach when they say, oh, finally old people have to die anyway. And I have one friend that is saying, oh, all this is a kind of conspiracy, and people have to die. That's true. We have to die. But this don't mean to be insensitive to the different stages of understanding. But if we really understand that we have to die, and if it's not from cancer or COVID, will be from anything else, then we can start to relax a bit. Like I have a friend in my family now that was diagnosed with cancer, and is the second person in my family. And I always say, you know, you will not gonna die because of cancer. You're gonna die because you're born. So if we really can understand that and internalize it in a gentle way, we understand that many people that are healthy will die before the people that are diagnosed with cancer or any other disease. Many, as we say, as we can see, maybe some people with can get COVID with 90 years old and don't die, and sometimes a 20-year-old can die. But meanwhile, there is a very beautiful text that I would like to explore with some people that, if you are more acquainted with these ideas, that is from one master called Gyaltse Togme. That's how to be happy in any situation. It's a very nice text, but means that something that I don't said, but I can say it now. If you don't know how to be happy poor, you will not know how to be happy rich. If you don't know how to be happy, doesn't matter if you are healthy or unhealthy, you will be miserable. Because the true causes of happiness are not the circumstances. And this is something that we need to learn. Sometimes in very tough ways, I must tell you. But we can learn. I can guarantee that we can learn to cope with very difficult situations. And if we can get in touch with this wisdom, we can make our life very meaningful, not only for ourselves, but for others. Because as I said, when you are really in peace with your own self, even without effort, you can benefit others. Sometimes just the way you look to other people or the way you smile to other people can be beneficial. So let's become this kind of, how to say, antenna of kindness in these difficult times. Let's be the safe port of our families, friends, and neighbors, not saying anything, just by our own attitude. So if we cultivate enough loving kindness, even without saying a word, just people listen to our voice, even without listening what we are saying, just the vibration of loving kindness voice will be shooting. So it will be very nice if we can if you can, we can really get in touch with this true nature. Many people showed this in the history of our human race. You know? As Gandhi said, and I agree, and he showed, if just one person can generate true love, is enough to, how to say, to calm down the hatred of millions. So let's become this person. Let's be the solution that we think that the world needs. And even governments will change, and companies, because we cannot turn up to governments, because all governments, more or less, they are a bit attached to power. Yeah. And they will not change just because, yes, big companies are attached to profits. But if we change ourselves, for example, in my area, this maybe John can have a good memory of Portugal. The first time that he came to Portugal and tried to have a vegetarian meal in a restaurant, he was almost put out of the restaurant by the owner. Now we live in a small village, the retreat center, as you know, and the smallest town nearby is 20 minutes. The supermarket is full of tofu, vegetarian meals, and this and that. Why? Not because the owners of these big companies get more conscious, but because the consumer change. They know that they need to change what they give us. So never subestimate the power of one person changing. So a few years ago, when we come to this place, it's not so many years, maybe we were the first vegetarians and only vegetarians, but slowly, the people is changing. And when people change, this make even companies, just because they wish of profits, even if it's nothing else, because the changing of consciousness in the consumer, we can make companies to change and governments to change. But when we say we are depending on their decision, we lose power and they will not change. So as Buddha said, never subestimate the power of a seed. Or even he said, never subestimate the power of a small fire, like a match. Because he said, finally the seed can grow and give lots of food. Even a small fire can destroy an entire mountain. And then he finally said, and never subestimate a young monk that can become a Buddha. So please don't subestimate your seed, your Buddha seed. Don't subestimate your fire of love. And don't subestimate the tenderness of the beginning of your practice, because we don't know the result. Then let's change the mantra to Obama and say, yes, we can. Okay, sorry to bother you in this afternoon. It was very good for me to see many friends that many years we don't see each other. But somehow it proves our talk. Just looking to each other, the spark of kindness and warmness comes on our hearts, isn't it? So it means that we really have this potential inside of us. Even for many years we don't speak or see each other, then when it comes the moment, we are just connected. So let's expand this potential really and really affect everybody around us. Then I'm sure if people get more compassion, then really, I'm thinking, I'm not joking, but I'm a bit lunatic, I know. If people can have a very strong commitment with kindness and compassion, we can finish this pandemic in 2 weeks. But unfortunately, because we don't have this, and we get neurotic about so many things, even about economy and many things that we prioritize, then finally we are going through months, near 1 year, going inside lockdowns and coming out, many people dying, many people suffering, all due lack of kindness to oneself and to others. And either you believe that Corona started by some crazy scientists doing chemical weapons or whatever you want to call it, is lack of compassion. But if it comes because people are eating animals that they should not eat, is lack of compassion, lack of kindness. So many Tibetan doctors, they are showing texts that since the time of King Trisong Detsen, that means even like 8th century, the Tibetan medical text said you should never eat, how do you call it, bat, because this will bring many diseases to humans, since 8th century. But because of this craziness of consuming everything and thinking that satisfying the sense of taste is more important than life, then either one reason or another, we are bringing disgrace to everybody because our bad habits that come from selfishness and not taking care of animals, not taking care of environment. Because as the 16th Karmapa said, nowadays vegetarianism is not anymore about just animals, it's about the survival of our ecosystem. So if you really want to be a bodhisattva, don't eat meat. But not just because of animals, but all the balance of our ecosystem and the survival of our own human species, we need to reshape our things. Then we can make a very nice life, having the style of life that is very nice to us and have a very nice impact in the others in the future generations. So it's up to us to make this crisis a moment where we can separate impurity from gold, or just getting depressed, because nowadays, sorry to say this, but I need to say, now we call even that we are losing our freedom because somebody asked us to wear a mask. Our freedom should be a bit more deep than if you wear a mask or not. And I saw one man in Portugal say, I'm assisting or seeing the newborn of a dictatorship. And I answer this, if this is even offensive for people that are under dictatorships. If you think that not going to the pub or not going to the restaurant or wear a mask is a dictatorship, and this is a lack of your basic freedoms, I'm afraid that you don't understand what is democracy. You don't understand what is freedom. And on the top, you are very offensive for people that live really in dictatorships. And even if in the future you are a danger for these people, because if these people say, help me because I'm under dictatorship, people maybe don't appreciate because they think they are having the same issues that we are having, that I cannot go to my favorite restaurant, I cannot go to this, and I need to wear a mask. This is even very, how to say, lack of respect for people that are really suffering under unfair governments. So it's very strange nowadays that people think that don't getting their basic how to say, things that they think they need to go to restaurant or to party. This is taking their freedom. So this is just coming from selfish self-concern, neurotic self-concern, because we are obsessed that freedom is an end, is mundane freedom is an end in itself. That's why, sorry if I don't want to offend nobody, but it's why some Americans, they think I am free. I am free to use a gun. Even if this is killing many people, not respecting the freedom of people to survive. I'm attached to this freedom, even if this freedom is harmful. It's very silly. It's when silly becomes an end in itself, and freedom is not a means to happiness of everybody. So this obsession with personal freedom is not freedom, it's the slavery of selfish mind. So this will be nice one day to debate. Maybe many of you don't agree with me, but I agree with Peter. Sometimes it's much better when we do not agree. If we have some level, we can discuss things and make our understanding grow, and at least it's more fun. Sometimes there's a kind of passive agreement is not so interesting. Sorry for being a bit crazy, but I think some of you are used, and I don't pretend to be consensual. I think sometimes it's very bad to be consensual. Even there is something that people call consensual Buddhism. I'm completely against consensual Buddhism.
If I may speak,
Yes,
Lama, I could say much more than you about that issue. About climate change is what we are doing to our own planet, the consequences that has to the planet and to ourselves. There's much more than that.
Yeah. But if we analyze deeply, is a crisis
Yes.
of humanity.
Yes.
I will not say even spirituality, just basic humanity.
Of course, yes. The planet doesn't do the things alone.
American Indians, they say there is a disease that they call cannibalism, in their own language, but we can translate to cannibalism. That is when you consume the life of others through your overconsumism. So every time that we consume too much, at the point that we are destroying the life and the economy and the fairness of life of others, in fact, we are being cannibals. We are eating our fellow
everything.
Brothers and sisters of many ways, many types of life.
That's what is happening.
So instead of blaming people, let's ourselves change.
Yes, of course.
Then we can help through it. Because many people, they believe it's not possible. And bad examples, there are a lot of bad examples. So we are lacking good examples. So in the behalf of humanity and planet Earth, I'm begging you, become truly a Bodhisattva. In the behalf of animals that cannot speak, and in the behalf of many beings that cannot speak, I ask you, let's become full of bodhicitta, loving kindness mind, that as Shantideva said, and many teachers, is the source of all happiness. And when I say all happiness, means ultimate happiness, but also relative happiness in our daily life. So if nobody wants to say something, we'll do prayers to finish. If somebody wants to say something, please do it now, or don't, how do you say in the marriage, in the weddings, there is something, speak it now, or be silent forever, but not forever, just until the next. Thank you, everybody. So maybe we can say some dedication prayer. That it's a very simple thing. It's may our seed develop fully and how they say, feed all the needs of every sentient being, to make it very short and very bluntly. So may our seed of compassion and wisdom just completely unfold and manifest in its fully potential. So let's dedicate the merit of our small achievement, some seed of peace, some seed of kindness that may be, say, experienced during the teachings or practices. Sonande danze jipani domne ne petanam panjin yagana chivalan pai sipetole doa doa sho chanchup senchare ponchi machi pana chichu chichipanya goni gondo belwa sho. Okay, thank you so much to everybody. Enjoy your life, make it meaningful, and don't forget, high mentality, low maintenance. It's make life very easy. Not so much problems. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lama.
Thank you, Lama.
Obrigado, Lama.
Obrigado, Lama.
Muito obrigado, Lama.
Obrigada.
Muito obrigada.
Thank you very, very much.
Obrigada.
Thank you.
Obrigada a todos. Obrigada, Lama.